Electrocast. Why take one vacation with the family when you could take all of them? With Royal Caribbean, you don't just go to the beach. You visit a private island and race down the tallest water slide in North America. You don't just go for a road trip. You ATV and zip line through the jungle. You don't just go somewhere new. You rappel down waterfalls and discover ancient temples. Because this isn't just any vacation. This is all the vacations. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
Welcome to the next edition of Missing the Point. I am Shawne Buchanan with my guy, Broadway Joe Melkin. Today we have a special guest in the building. He is a three-time All-Pro, a three-time Pro Bowler, the Defensive Rookie of the Year. He is now the owner of an MMA promotion called Lights Out Extreme Fighting, and he also has ventures in the real estate business. That being said, Shawne Merriman, welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How you guys doing?
Good, great, good, man. This is awesome. Like I said, we, longtime fans of the game, of your game. Like I said, we're Patriots fans. Of, like I said, game recognizes game.
All right, man. That's it, man. Interview over.
No, gotta be real. But no, like I said, you were a hell of a player in the time that you were there, really throughout your career. And like I said, we're thankful that you spent the time with us. So I just want to get right into it, man. So obviously we know you played football for a number of years. Where does your love for football start? And just, who were your influences when you were growing up in the DMV?
Well, I grew up in Prince George's County, Maryland, man. Played high school there. And then when I ended up going to the University of Maryland, I literally was like 20 minutes down the street from where I grew up. So it fit. But when I was younger, man, I actually played basketball first. And I was fouling on all my basketball games at first. Like my coach was saying, hey, I was too aggressive. They knew a sport that I could do this legally, right? And it was applauded. And so when I first went up to the football field and I'll never forget my coaches. I didn't know anything about football. I remember watching a little bit on TV as a kid, didn't know much about it. I asked my coach, hey, what do I do? And he said, hey, that guy right there with the ball in his hand, hit him. And I said, that's it? I said, that's it. So they told me where to line up at, and I just started to handhunt anybody who had the football in their hands, and somehow I got really good at it. And same thing, I had a funny story in high school, and obviously I got my nickname, Lights Out, my sophomore in high school, but my freshman year, I showed up a little bit late to camp, and I was like days late. They already had started, and my mom had missed the registration or whatever it was, and I remember the head coach of the junior varsity team, I showed up. They were all pissed off at me for showing up late and not coming on time. And they said, hey, what position do you want to play? I said, coach, I don't give a damn. I just want to hit somebody. And everybody smiled from ear to ear. And they just was happy. So I think it was really the love, man, of the contact and the collision of the sport. And, we used to have this saying that, if everybody could play football, they would. But it's just, it's hard on your body. It's a vicious and violent sport. And so it takes a certain, special type of breed to actually want to go out there and do it.
That's why we're fans of the game, and we do it on this side. Ray and I, I'll tell you what, Ray and I, we were talking about this interview beforehand, and like you said, I don't want to fangirl, but we were big fans of you. You said you got the Lights Out nickname in your sophomore year. I was saying to Ray before we started, you're one of the, I don't want to say dying breeds of linebackers, but you were an old school linebacker, and that's what I loved about your game. So how did you get the nickname, and then where did the celebration come from?
Yeah, so I actually happened one after the other. So my sophomore year in high school, I knocked out 4 kids in one game, in one football game. And so right after the game, I had about 20 students come run up to me and they said, man, you knocked those kids' lights out. And I didn't really plan on it. I just was like, hey, call me Lights Out. And it's just the name stuck. I remember going to school one day and everybody was kind of calling me Lights, short for Lights Out. And I ran home that day when I got home from school, and I begged my mom to let me get this tattoo on my right forearm. And she looked at me crazy and told me to get the hell out the room. So every day for 2 weeks, man, I just was on her. I was on her. I was on her. I said, man, we got to get this tattoo. It's going to be a thing one day. So she finally let me get the tattoo. It was a hand switch, light switch of doing the lights out, cutting the lights out. And so that's where the flicking of the switch happened. Yeah. So that whole thing was created then. And I kind of just, people loved it, and I kept doing it.
Oh no, that's an awesome story, and listen, that's so many moms like, well, like, boy, you crazy, girl, you crazy. I get no tattoo before, your 21st birthday, whatever. Because I mean, that's why I didn't get a tattoo, because my mom was like, look, that's not happening. So I totally relate to that story for sure. So as I mentioned, you played at Maryland. So just what was that recruiting process for you coming out of high school, and then what led to you choosing University of Maryland?
Well, for one, like I'm a homegrown kid. Like I didn't want to go anywhere else. And I knew I got offered. I went to a 3-day camp my sophomore year in high school at the end of my sophomore year. And I had a great showing. And then the coaches then told me they were going to come back and offer me a scholarship. This was my sophomore year. I'm 6 feet, 170-pound linebacker, right? So they had no idea I was going to end up being, 70 pounds heavier, right? Or 60 pounds heavier. So they offered me a contract. I mean, they offered me a scholarship my junior year, and I verbally committed right then and there, because and I had offers from just about everywhere in the country, but I knew I didn't want to go anywhere. Like, I was home. That's my backyard. I wanted my coaches, my family, my friends. I wanted everybody to come and see me play. And then also too, there was a big media market there in the DMV area, Washington Post and Baltimore Sun and Washington Times. And I was playing in a pretty big media market. So it all worked out, man. And it was probably one of the best decisions I made, because I couldn't really see myself going anywhere else.
Yeah, so I mean, so obviously, so you played it for 3 years, right? Played it 3 years at Maryland. So, so obviously, you get drafted 2005. So obviously, we're taping around the time the NFL draft is coming up. Just what was the draft process like for you coming into that? Like, did you know you were going to be a first rounder? And then obviously, when you got drafted by San Diego, what was that a place you wanted to be, or were you hoping the Redskins got you? So just what was going through your mind at that time before getting drafted by San Diego?
Yeah, what's crazy is it was so up in the air, because I actually weighed in at 272 at the combine. Everybody else thought I was 245, right? And so they didn't know that I was that big and still moving like I was. So it went from just an outside linebacker position to now to defensive end position as well. So people looking at me at both ends. So that draft process like doubled. The amount of eyeballs doubled, because now I wasn't in the market for just outside linebacker anymore. I was a DN as well. So it was crazy, because they started to talk about me possibly going number 1 to San Fran initially, and they ended up going with Alex Smith, and it was again at 6 or 7, whatever Minnesota had, I think, because Mike Tice was there, who was a former University of Maryland. So they were looking at me. Then you had the Redskins, then Redskins looking at me as well, because it's right in my backyard. Dallas Cowboys, and then, well, actually, no, take that back. 10th at the Lions. I went to go take a visit to the Lions. I met with Steve Mariucci every bit of like 2.5 minutes. I'm like, why the hell did I come out here to Detroit? Like, big waste of time. But I knew if I didn't go there, I was 11 to the Cowboys or 12 to the Chargers. So either way, I knew I was going somewhere in that top 10, top 12, which is, fortunate, man, because a lot of people, you want to get drafted anywhere, but you're going to be somewhere in the top 10-ish. It was a really good feeling.
Hey, so you ran a 4.64 at the combine at 272 pounds?
Yeah, the other one's clocked in at, I think, a 4.58.
Jesus.
4.5, yeah, 4.58, some change. What
can you run now?
Probably a 6 flat.
That's about where I am. Yeah.
Yeah. That's if I don't pull something. No, I do a lot of MMA training, and I do a lot of jogging and stuff, and I do light sprints. But when you're done, man, like you had so many of those years on your body. So I changed up my workouts, man. A lot of circuit training. Right when we get off here, I'm going to hot yoga tonight, for 75. So I'm very active when it comes to that. I still take really good care of my body.
That's awesome. So, you play with a lot of huge names. I mean, you being one of them, but I mean, those teams you were on in San Diego, you had LaDainian, you had Phillip Rivers, Antonio Gates. What was it like playing with those guys? And is Phillip Rivers as nuts as they make him out to be?
He's definitely nuts. But the best, in the best way, man. Like, he's the ultimate competitor, and I really do miss being in the locker room with that dude. He wanted to compete, and he's probably the biggest competitor that I've ever played with, because it went far and beyond the field. Like, he would challenge me in the weight room, talk trash. He'd walk in by the cafeteria, you pick it up in food in the locker room. I mean, it just never really stopped with him. He always wanted to challenge you, never back down from anything. So I appreciated that about him. But, for me, man, walking into the locker room, I mean, you walk into the locker room with that LaDainian Tomlinson, Antonio Gates,
Shawne Merriman.
Rivers, Drew Brees. I played with Drew Brees and Donnie Edwards and Randall Godfrey and Jamal Williams. So Keenan McCardell was at wide receiver, right? So you're walking in with guys who've been in the game for a while and superstars at that time. And for me, man, it was eye-opening. I learned from the best. I think I was put in the best situation I could possibly be in to getting drafted anywhere else.
Yeah, so obviously, like I said, that team had a lot of talents we just mentioned. I remember even Drayton Florence and Quentin Jammer as well. Those are another two guys I thought about on that defense that was lethal. When did you realize you guys would start to become contenders? Because obviously you get drafted in 05. You go 14-2 the next year. You make the AFC Championship game the next year. So just when did you guys realize that you had something special in the room? Because obviously, San Diego had kind of went back and forth, even though they had talent there. But Drew Brees goes to Miami. Then you have a second-year quarterback taking over. So just when did you guys realize that you guys would start to become contenders, not just in the AFC West, but in the NFL as a whole?
Well, it's crazy because the great teams, the players kind of run everything, right? Like, when it was time for the practice going too long or something's happening, the LT or somebody would be like, hey, tea time, screaming golf, right? Like, so with the great teams, the coaches really don't have to step in too much. And I played for a great when Marty Schottenheimer were getting there. When I say I walk into the best situation you can never ask for. I mean, Marty Schottenheimer is the coach, head coach, defensive coordinator Wade Phillips, linebackers coaches. I had Greg Minuski and John Pagano. And so you look around the room and all these guys are either head coaches or defensive coordinators at one point. And so I really got the luck of the draw, man, because guys walk into some very bad situations and it kind of can spoil, your first initial walk into the NFL. And I got fortunate by having them there.
Why take one vacation with the family when you could take all of them? With Royal Caribbean, you don't just go to the beach. You visit a private island and race down the tallest water slide in North America. You don't just go for a road trip. You ATV and zip line through the jungle. You don't just go somewhere new. You rappel down waterfalls and discover ancient temples. Because this isn't just any vacation. This is all the vacations. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
So, we mentioned, we knew you were on great teams. You were in a time in the NFL that was extremely competitive. I mean, just you had that 2004 quarterback class. You had some of the best linebackers in the league, yourself included. When you guys came to New England, as New England fans, we have to ask this question. And Vince Wilfork and the Patriots did your celebration. What was that like for you? I mean, as a competitor, it was probably fiery for you, but what were your thoughts?
Well, they did it at our home when they beat us in 06. We were at home when that happened. And then we finally ended up going there in 2007. So I'm walking in on fire, right? I'm already like ready to go. I remember it. I want to get them back. And I had a couple sacks in the AFC Championship game, but they just got named Tom Brady that, just did what he does best. But the thing about playing those teams, because they had great players on there, but they were very well coached, man. It was crazy, man. To see the game plans and playing against their offensive coordinator, I think was Josh McDaniels at the time or whoever the offensive coordinator was, and just being there. You look back on it now and man, that was a hell of a time for football because it was the rivalry is different now. You got guys jersey swapping and, hanging out with each other on the off seasons. And it was different with us. I went to some guys' charity events and did stuff to me all season, but for those 60 minutes, I hated your guts. And I don't care if we were cool friends, I knew your family. For those 60 minutes, we didn't belong on the same field. And I think the mindset and approach was a little bit, and guys are so consumed with getting the bag now, which is great. But it's kind of taking out some of the competitiveness and guys really wanting to be the best.
Yeah, back in those days, you're not much older than we are. So, it's weird to say, but, how did you prepare in those days for guys like Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees when you played against them later in your career? How do you prepare for those kinds of guys when they are out there doing what they do best?
Well, when I was younger, I was told that if you wanted to be mentioned up there with the great players, you had to have great games against other great players, meaning the quarterbacks. And so whenever we had Peyton Manning or Tom Brady, if you go back and look at the stats of my career, us playing them, I got after them just as much as anybody else because they were great. And in order to like go down as one of the best to do it, you had to have these games against them. Because anybody, you know, we're playing like the Raiders a couple times a year, you know, those are 2-3 sack games. You know, you're going to get those. You can have, you know, if you can have 2 or 3 sacks against Tom Brady, or you got 2 or 3 sacks against Peyton Manning, like that's when people really take notice. That's when they started to put you in the category of great players. And I knew that was, if I wanted to be mentioned in that category, I had to do it.
Yeah, if we ever talk to Tom, I'm going to ask him the same question. How did you prepare for Shawne Merriman? Because I'm sure he had a hell of a time doing that too.
You know, I would always want, I would want to know, you know,
Right?
because somebody said on Twitter today, and I really didn't think about it about when they were doing my sack dance in 06. In order for an entire team to do it, like Bill Belichick or somebody had to, you know, like ignite that. So I heard a rumor, don't know if it's true, but I heard that either an offensive coordinator or somebody slipped a picture under all the players' doors and be doing a lights out dance. I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not, but for what happened, it makes sense if it was.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm curious to know, like, what was that conversation like? Because I turned it up to another level when we played those guys. And then my week preparation was different because we were playing against the great players and great teams.
Yeah, I mean, and also obviously, even though it was it could be looked at as taunting, and we just saw that over this weekend with the LSU and Iowa game, right? That's something recent, but I just think, honestly, and you kind of alluded to it, like it's really a sign of respect. You are someone that teams had to prepare for, period. And I'm not gonna lie, the 16, 17-year-old me watching you on the field, I'm like, yo, this man's going to ruin he's gonna ruin our playoff chances. Like it's a problem. And it's like between you, LT, I'm like, yo, like we have to do something. Put 2, 3, 4, whatever you got to do to make sure so that's you, Dwight Freeney, Robert Mathis, like those are guys I think are right away. It's like, yo, like you have to find a way to stop them, because if not, you're going to Cancun very quickly. So it's just like that's something that I thought about, and I'm thankful that we were successful, because I'm sure that you guys would have wanted had you guys got to that stage. But I want to transition to after your career. So I know you retired in 2013 after having many great moments. So just, was that an easy transition once you retired from Buffalo? I mean, just were you already preparing for what's next while you were playing? So yeah, just how was that transition for you going into what you've done with the MMA promotion and what you do now with real estate?
Yeah, I think the biggest part of it is I was ready to make that jump. And I was still getting calls from the team. I mean, Doug Willie, from the GM from Buffalo, he asked me to come back. I finished up pretty strong with them, but they had an old new coaching staff coming in. I didn't know who was coming in, so I didn't want to start all the way over with a new coaching staff. And so I decided to retire. And regardless, I tell any athlete this when I talk to them, you can have everything lined up in the world, and you can be busy, but nothing initially is going to replace that void of football. And so, because we've been doing it for so long, I was playing since I was 10 years old. Right? You're stuck to a regimen. You're used to being in a locker room. You're used to being somewhere during the off season, or the off season workouts or whatever. And so a lot of guys struggle that first year. So I tell anybody to get busy now, because it's going to be hard no matter what. That first year, you're going to struggle just being away from the game. Year 2, year 3, and all that stuff, it gets better as time goes on. But initially, nothing can really replace that void. But for me, I jumped into the combat sports, training MMA. I initially got into it between the 2005 and 2006 season. I remember I was training with Jay Blazer over at Fox Sports, and he knew I grew up in the DMV area. I grew up boxing, have a couple uncles and family members who were professional boxers. So naturally, I just grew up boxing anyway. And so one day he said, "Hey, I think you should try this MMA thing out. It can help your hand-eye coordination, your being, different leverage, and being able to open your hips up and turn the corners on some of those offensive linemen." And I said, cool, whatever I need to do to get better at football, just let me know. He sent me an address, texted me an address one day, and I showed up to a gym, and Jay Glazer's on my left and Randy Couture's on my right. So I'm looking at Randy Couture smack dead in the eyes, and I'm looking at Jay like, hey, listen, this ain't going down today. Whatever y'all planning, I'm not fighting Randy Couture today. And they said, no, that's not it. He's going to show you how to pummel and grapple and use different motions and stuff like that. And right there, then and there, man, I was hooked. I was hooked on the sport. I seen what it did for my football career. The next year I came out in 2006, I was able to use my hands. I got really, really good with my hands. And so I started to do it every single offseason. So fast forward, I launched Lifetime Extreme Fight in 2018. We're now on Fubo Sports, Fubo TV. So if you guys don't have football out there, get it. We got a big fight coming up May 6th, Saturday, May 6th, in LA. You can get your tickets at lightsoutxf.com for anybody that's checking us out in LA. It's gonna be one of our biggest cards. We're stacked up with talent. We got the next up and coming hungry stars of this sport, man. And me coming from where I came from in NFL and being around like big athletes my whole life, I can look at some of them, while they're even before the fight or during their training camps, and I can say, oh, you know what? He's gonna be a star one day, or she's gonna be a star, because I've been around like big athletes my whole life. And some of these guys and some of these men and women, they just carry themselves a little different, got a personality, and they take care of themselves, they train well. And so I look at it and I'm like, okay, yeah, they're going to be a star one day. So that part of the business has always been like really fun for me, because some of these guys and women going to end up, the UFC one day and become, really big. And so now everybody wants to come through Lights Out Extreme fighting first. So it's been cool for me.
Are you guys just in LA? I know you're based out of that area, but are you on the road yet? Are you traveling the country? Like when do you come east and stuff like that?
Yeah, we're looking at June 24th in Prim, San Diego, I think late July or early August. But I've been talking to the MGM out there in my hometown in Washington, D.C., the Maryland area. And so we're kind of making our way back East Coast. Put it this way, man, there's so many fighters out here that's looking for fights and looking to get on and looking to showcase their talents. And that's just been really cool for us, because we are on football, so people can watch us everywhere. So by the time it's time for us to go to, a Maryland, or go to a Virginia, or go up there to wherever you guys are, they know about us. And it makes it a lot easier to pull some of the next up-and-coming talent in and for them to come and work with us.
That's a great MGM in Washington, by the way. Drove by there about a month ago, and I almost pulled straight off the highway. I was driving a college softball team to South Carolina, and I was almost like, screw this, we're going, man. Yeah, that's a nice area. I mean, you guys are doing something great. I mean, we do a lot of UFC stuff on our podcast as well, so definitely something we're gonna have to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, we got to have you guys one of the fights, man. We put on a hell of a show. I said we're the best production and operations team to make everything really crisp and the broadcast and getting really creative. We got some really creative cameras. This going to be seeing this fight that's coming down and dropping the cage and do all kind of really cool stuff, man. So it's been fun.
We love that. That's so cool.
Yeah, no, that's all. Like I said, we would love to show up, but we have another co-host, Dave, who's really into, into that MMA stuff. So he definitely would be.
And he's in LA.
Yeah. He's not that far from where you guys do the extreme fighting. So I think he definitely will pop up at some point. So I think actually the news broke today about the UFC and WWE merging together. Like, is that something? Like, so if Fubu did that, like, would you still? Football. Sorry if I'm saying it wrong, but if they merge together, like, is that something that you be interested in?
I think Endeavor is doing it right.
Yeah,
you got two really big entities that somehow, some way can complement each other. People don't understand how big WWE is and how global they are. They're in 52 countries. I think their YouTube is bigger than all the sports combined, or something crazy. So. It's a big platform there. Obviously, you got some of these MMA guys from UFC that could possibly transition one day. I think Conor McGregor will make a great WWE superstar if he ever wanted to do it. I think he's too damn, he would be great on mic. I think on the flip side of everything, man, it was a really good move, and that's what happens when you got two, big power entities who can make that happen.
Yeah, so we talked about already kind of how you made that transition from playing football to what you're doing now with the MMA and with real estate. So just what advice would you give any pro athlete that once they transition out of whatever professional sport that they're in? Just what advice would you give them on setting themselves up for success after their playing days?
We talked a little bit about, the filling the void when you're done playing a game of football and why you feel that way. So you have to find something that you're equally as passionate about, right? And I think that's what most guys struggle. Like, if you're just as passionate about your next career and what you're planning on doing, you're going to be successful. because you know what it takes already. You're disciplined, right? You got to think from the age of 10, we're told where to go, what time to be there, how many times to do it, where to show, like, so everything is structured. So that part of your life, you're already set. You just have to figure out what you want to do, because being a pro athlete, man, you got to put in some real time and some real obstacles and adversity, injuries, learning playbooks. You might have to go into a different locker room and learn that system. I mean, there's a lot. And so if you took that same mentality that it took you being, a professional and excelled on the field, you're going to be successful in life. But you have to figure out what that next step is, that next passion, whatever got you up in the morning and roll out of bed. Like, if you got that, you're gonna be just fine.
So I got two questions for you. One's tongue in cheek and one's kind of football related. The tongue in cheek question is, did you ever try to get Rivers to name one of his 12 kids after you?
No, no, because I think at that time he had like 7 or 8 or something like that.
No, so said it so casually. 7 or 8.
Look, I figured at that point you got to be done, right? So there's no convention, but little did I know, pop out a couple more. I mean, so he was just on the road with that. I think that he was trying to have a whole offense or defense and then have to go out and recruit or bring anybody in-house. I think that's what his goal was, to have an 11-11 tournament against a family and a team, because that's where he's at with it right now.
Yeah, he's coaching high school football right now, so I'm sure that's exactly what he was trying to do. And then the other question, back to your playing days, like we loved watching you play, and what's a story you can give us from your time playing that it doesn't have to be PG, it can be PG-13, rated R. Like, what's a good story you got for us from your playing days?
Listen, I got PG stories, PG-13 and rated R ones, you name it, I got them all.
Yeah, give us a really good one.
This show is not for families, so
yeah, it's not for families.
Okay.
No. I don't let my 2 kids, and I got enough, so I don't let them watch.
Look, when you play in the locker room and you got a lot of money and testosterone, guys do a lot of stuff, man. And one thing you do miss about being around the guys is everybody's so damn different, right? So you might have somebody like from Jersey or the city part of the country, and you got another dude that's from Iowa or Texas, total country guy, right? And then somehow, some way in hell, that they're friends. And you like, it's the most oddest shit ever, because this guy is city, this guy's country, this guy, whatever. So I think for me, it was like always going out for the guys. I would try to get LT. I never got Phillip out. I think I got LT out once or twice during the season when we got him out to a club and stuff like that. But when guys we were young, man. We were like lions, and at the time when I was drafted, I was 20 years old. And so I actually bought into my first nightclub called Stingery in San Diego before I was 21. And so when I went in it, I had to put vodka in a water bottle so nobody knew I was like drinking. I just turned 21. Actually, I just turned 21 when I went. But when I bought into it, I was still 20. And so when I got in there, I remember the first time I went in there, right before I turned 21, it was like on May 23rd, it was Memorial Day weekend. My birthday was on the 25th, and everybody just wanted to be cautious. So I put vodka in my water bottle and drinking out there the whole night. But yeah, Stingery was like the landmark of San Diego when it came to nightclubs. And it was probably one of the funnest times of my life. So
I was going to say, you got to grow up in a great city. San Diego's my favorite city in the country. Right over the border is Tijuana. I'm sure you got some stories.
Yeah. Tijuana's a great place, great place to go and, fill the need of voids of life,
No donkey shows for Shawne.
No donkey show. Maybe 1 or 2. Maybe I stopped by and purchased a few, I grabbed threw a couple pesos at it.
Yeah, it's something you got to experience, right?
But I have seen a donkey show in person. I'm not gonna lie. So
okay. No, man. So like I said, we were running on time. So just tell the listeners where they can find you on social media, and then just just tell them about the fight one more time.
Yeah, we got a huge fight May 6th in Burbank, California, Saturday, May 6th. Those of you want to get there, if you're in LA, if you're hearing this or seeing this and you're in LA, get your tickets at lightsoutxf.com. And if you can't be there, get football. Football's been a great partner, one, because it's seen not only in the US, but Canada, France, and some parts of Spain, you can see our shows. But also, too, they're climbing that top 10 most watched on football sports. It just, because I listen to the people, man, like the fans and people around, they'll tell you if they like the product or not. And we throw some great fights, man. We got the next young, up-and-coming, hungry superstars of this sport, and I'm glad they come over to Lights Out first before they go anywhere else.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and anything else you got in the works, and where else can we find you?
Yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Like I can tell you, this fight business, it's a different ball game now. Like you got to be cut for it. Some weeks, some fights you might walk in with 12 to 14 fights and actually have 7 or 8. You're like, okay, how the hell did 4 or 5 fights drop? And then you're scrambling to get them there. And you got ticket sales, and you obviously make sure our showing looks good on football and the production and operations. It's a lot, man. But I got a staff of 67 people, and for me, it's been fun because I'm watching the brand grow. I can't even go to a gym now because I still go work out. I train at Extreme Couture a couple days a week. I'll go down to San Diego and train at some of these gyms, or in LA, at Black House or the Body Shop in Long Beach. So I train at these gyms, and I can't go anywhere now without fighters asking to jump on the card. So that tells me a lot, what people look at when people look at our shows.
Yeah, that's also awesome. I hope that it continues to grow to what it more than what you could have imagined. And just tell us your social media handles, and then we'll wrap up.
Yep, my personally is at Shawne Merriman. That's on Twitter and Instagram, and Lights Out XF on Twitter and Instagram as well. So give us a follow there. I'm posting every day. Like you won't know a person that actually run a company on social media as much as I do. I'm locked and loaded there. I want to say I tweet every day for 7, 8 years, 10 years. I mean, I tweet just about every day. And when I'm not on it, that's because the plane don't have Wi-Fi. That's about it. So
we love that because you don't see a lot of business owners and people in your position that handle their own social media. So that's refreshing and pretty cool to see.
Yeah, for sure. So it's like, yeah, we thank you for your time, and we hope that we're able to do this again when you have another promotion to speak about, or any of the stories that we want to wrap about. So for Shawne Merriman, Joe Malcolm, I'm Sean Buchanan. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Hey, it's Tim from 50 Years of Music with 50-Year-Old White Guys, the comedy podcast you had no idea you needed. Join Ben, Jeff, and me as we continue our musical road trip back through the years and around the globe. See, just when you thought all white guys were like Joe Rogan, you come across 3 educators trying to remember when we were cool.
50 Years of Music with 50-Year-Old White Guys.
Electricast.
Miles, are you ready to record our promo for Season 2 of the Wanna Bet podcast?
David, have you ever seen a grown man naked?
Miles, we're not here to quote lines from Airplane. We're here to tell people that Season 2 starts August 18th.
But I like Airplane.
I know you do, but Wanna Bet is a sports betting podcast. Each week we bet $1,000 on the NFL teams and games that we love.
Well, that sounds like fun.
It is fun. And last year you picked over 60% of your games correctly.
How'd you do?
We're not talking about that. We are telling people that they can find us every Friday. So no more movie quotes.
Roger.
Electricast. Electricast.